Ishmael by Dan Quinn is admittedly one of my favorite books of all time, and if you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend adding it to your 2025 reading list. As our society further devolves into robber baronism, where the wealthy elite seem to control more and more of the overall economic, political, and social clout, there are ideologies and in fact even entire cultures that have been warning us about this since the dawn of time. A concept which in and of itself is entirely capitalist, entirely human-centric. In our society at least, and we'll get into that. The book starts out following the thoughts and actions of the person that we will come to find out is our narrator. And I guess before I go any further, here's the warning for spoilers. Our narrator responds to a newspaper advertisement promising to give all of the answers. As cliche as it sounds, it's actually an ad promising to answer the, life, the universe, and everything type deal. They arrive at a nondescript office building and come in contact with Ishmael, a telepathic gorilla who, through some miraculous gift of sentience, is able to really perceive the world around them in a way that most non-human animals quite simply cannot. Over the following days, Ishmael proceeds to guide the narrator through an exploration of our culture's myths, the fundamentals of all of humanity's cultural myths and the implications that they have on the rest of the world. The bottom line is Ishmael's teachings focus on the dichotomy between two types of human cultures, the ones he calls takers and leavers. Leavers are traditional, indigenous, pre-industrial cultures that focus on living in harmony with nature and living by its laws. Takers are modern, agricultural-based societies that dominate nature, exploiting resources without a long-term focus on sustainability. Ishmael critiques how takers feel as though they are entitled to the earth. They believe that they are the pinnacle of evolution and thereby see a mandate for their domination of all things. Ishmael emphasizes that the taker worldview is built on a myth itself, that humans are separate from nature, they are superior to it, and thereby destined to rule over it. The myth justifies their exploitation of the environment, non-human animals, really other human cultures as well that are not as dominant. The law of life is what Ishmael considers to be a natural law, the peacekeeping law as he describes it. It governs the balance of all life. Species must limit their impact on the ecosystem to avoid self-destruction. But taker societies break this law. Separation from this law and the belief that one can dominate the world around them leads to overpopulation. It leads to environmental collapse, and eventually it will lead to a complete collapse of society. Now, throughout the book, Ishmael refers to this ideology as the hum, the ever-present buzzing of the existence of this taker culture, but the lack of recognition by any of its members that it exists. He further describes this idea as the mother culture, this pervasive, unconscious voice of societal norms that allow the taker perspective to continue. It reinforces the worldview over and over with every aspect of the world around you. Mother culture teaches that human conquest of nature is inevitable and it is right. It is morally just. It makes it not only difficult to imagine another way of living, but essentially a thought crime. Now, we're juggling a lot of social unrest, political upheaval, economic uncertainty, but my take on this book is a lot more fundamental as far as the big thing that I really walked away with and continue to walk away with. It seems as we are bombarded by ideas of oligarchy, fascist takeover in our government, UFOs, World War III, the future of the middle class having any kind of hope. It seems to me that the most pressing threat putting all life on Earth at risk is the destruction of the climate, the destruction of the environment. And this is why I think that even today this book remains profoundly relevant for those that are willing to pick it up. This book focuses on the anthropocentric view of the world. Even the most empathetic, progressive ideologies still seem to be so inconsiderate of non-human animals or those really that can't represent or speak for themselves, i.e., the Earth. This book directly addresses humanity's unstable relationship with the environment. It challenges our cultural myths that drive ecological destruction. In a time of climate change, mass extinction, and extreme resource depletion, this book criticizes our collective taker mindset, dominating and exploiting nature for short-term gains, where technological and economic growth most often come at the expense of social well-being and environmental health. I think that by exposing unconscious cultural narratives like humanity's destiny to rule the Earth, this book empowers you to rethink your relationship with nature overall. And I think that the more you do this, the more that you reinforce this for yourself, you are both looking at society differently, imagining a better future for society, but also thinking about the small steps that you can take, the individual changes that you can actually make in your own life. Ishmael suggests that the narrator and the rest of us can challenge the destructive taker myth, can become a leaver society. We do this by adopting a new way of thinking, fundamentally challenging the myth. Our role as humans should be one of being part of nature. While technology and collectivism has more or less allowed us to surpass survivalism, that does not inherently mean that we have to be dominators. We can be caretakers. Now, as a bleeding heart commie libtard, I am inevitably going to be picking up bias wherever I can. But I think just like so many fundamentalist leftist teachings, just like so much of the fundamental indigenous lifestyle teachings, Ishmael emphasizes interconnectedness. All systematic change begins with grassroots movements towards justice and sustainability. It inspires individuals to reject exploitative systems, to imagine harmonious and equitable ways of living. I mean, this book really offers a blueprint for society, and I think that right now, more than ever, it is so timely to read for yourself. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. Hit that follow button, drop a comment if you want to have a chat. I mean, I love this book, and so if you guys want to have an even deeper conversation about it, I have a link to my Discord below. It's called Your Uncle's Worst Nightmare. It's a podcast that I'm doing with my buddy Justin. But anything to do with compassion, sustainability, and bringing these values into our political system, I mean, that's what I'm all about right now. And so if it does behoove you to read this book, please feel free to have a conversation with me about it. Without further ado, my friends, do all the things below. I really appreciate it. Much love, namaste, and I will talk to you guys later. Psh.